Moving on to a little music for the end of our feature this morning with singer-songwriters Nancy Beaudette and Christine Hatch. Nancy grew up in eastern Ontario, outside of Cornwall area. She grew up on French fiddle, Irish, Scottish reels, and she learned to play fiddle, clarinet, sax, and guitar. She got started with music and songwriting at the early age of 8, writing her first song, and started performing it out at 16. And she has been performing her music for the past 30 years. She is presently at this time on the road, often touring nationally and internationally. She performs with a number of music icons in Nashville, where she is sharing music sometimes with the likes of Kathy Mattea, John Vestner, and Lynn Gillespie. Back home, she performs award-winning songs, and she's also an award-winning sign maker, which is her work. And she says that making these signs helps her to become a better songwriter. She has 6 CDs, and she's received a number of awards for her songs. When she's not on the road, she offers creativity coaching to aspiring writers and artists internationally, and she's a certified scuba diver. Christine Hatch grew up in Weymouth, and in her early years, she spent her time around horses and 4-H and mucking about in the stalls, she said. And this perhaps led to her doing some work as a stunt rider for Wild West show in the 1970s. You'd have to ask her about. Her combined love of cooking and music brought her to work for a while at South Shore Music Circus, where she had the opportunity to cook for the likes of Tony Bennett, Anne Murray, the Beach Boys, Judy Collins, Peter Paul, Mary, and more. Since then, she has been working as a marketing event manager, presently for Massachusetts Broadband Institute as outreach manager, and she is a massage therapist in her spare time, and she writes haiku to keep the flow. Christine acknowledges that she is a late bloomer to music, started writing her songs in her 30s and her first open mic in her 40s, and now she's working on her first CD. We are lucky when we can hear these two together, swapping songs and sharing harmonies, as today will happen. I'm delighted and honored to hear them both sing and share songs in this feature, and I'd like to help you give a big, loud, warm welcome to Nancy Beaudette and Christine Hatch.
Nothing new about starting over. People do it all the time. Someone finds a new lover, another stays behind, and leaving you isn't easy. I get no points for bravery. There's nothing new about starting over. It's just new to me. I don't need luck. I don't want fame, but I don't want to stay the same. It's my chance And so I'm breaking with tradition. It might be a story of amends. I'm plotting out my destination on unfamiliar wings. It feels a lot like restitution for a host of unknown sins. But I'm breaking with tradition, and it's a mess I'm glad I'm in. I don't need luck, I don't want fame, but I don't want to stay the same. It's my chance, mine to claim. It's as good a time as any for a change. And if I let another day go by waiting for tomorrow, soon enough there'll be no time to borrow. No time to borrow. No time to borrow. I don't need luck, I don't want fame, but I don't want to stay the same. It's my chance, mine to claim. It's as good a time as any. I know I'm ready. As good a time as any for a change.
Nancy's the Canadian. You'll hear her say A every now and again, okay? I think you guys probably figured that out. My mom just turned 88, and she spent it on a cruise. I think it's a lesson in that, right? That's, live every day. A few years ago, I had a chance to write a song with Kate Chadbourne. I always wanted to write my mom a song, and, I think this is a season of gratitude, and I feel so blessed that my mom at a very early age taught me about beauty and about nature, and we live in such a beautiful area of the world. So I visit her a lot. She still has a garden. Nancy and I go down and help her plant it, and when I visit, she loves to walk around all seasons to see what's coming up and what's dying and what's new in the yard. And a few years ago, she was on a cruise. There's a theme here. And I noticed this beautiful orange rose. It was the color of my sweater, and it was late fall. It was just such a surprise to me. And I so wanted her to see it. And so I was going to cut it, but roses at the end of fall don't last long in a vase. So I thought, well, hold on. She comes home. We're walking around the yard, and she says to me, "Look, Chris, the last rose of summer." So she gave me my title, and feeling very blessed today to have her in my life. This goes out to all the mothers. Just before the frost of October, cleaning up the leaves and the stalks, working in my mother's garden, racing with the winds and the clocks. I hear my mother's footsteps behind me, shuffling through the leaves and the grass. She lays a gentle hand on my shoulder, and she says to me, "Did you notice that? The last rose of summer, she's hanging on to the vine. She's beautiful, strong, yet fragile. She doesn't care about time. And the maple trees donned a skirt of shadow, and high up in the sky a V of geese. Off to the Southland they'll travel, where they're speaking to the flying thing in me. Takes my arm, we walk together. We talk about how much we love the rain. We spoke of how our lives go on forever, if only in the blossoms that remain. And the last rose of summer, she'll always be here. I'll look for her come autumn, when all the other flowers disappear. When all the other flowers disappear. Thank you.
Do you know where Montreal is?
This is a very intelligent crowd here, Nancy.
Do you know where?
Come on,
do you know where
Ottawa
is? So Cornwall, where I grew up, is kind of in between those two, but in the province of Ontario.
Does anybody know Cornwall? Oh, look at that! You've got friends.
And so it's right on the St. Lawrence River, but there's this other little river system that flows into the St. Lawrence called the Raisin River. It has 3 tributaries: the main branch, then the north branch, and the south branch. And I grew up along the south branch road, aptly named after the south branch of the Raisin River. And I wanted to write a song about home, and I wanted to write a song to mark a very big birthday that I had in this past January. And this is it. The South Branch Road winds and rolls like the river that flows by its side. I can trace the years from my birth to here, right down the center line. I fell in love with tar and stone, and a county lined with maple and oak. In 61, with 3 kids in tow, Mom and Dad bought a place there and made it home. I spent my summers on a steel blue bike, weaving shoulder to shoulder like wind in a kite, dreaming big and reaching high, riding further and further out on my own. Like the South Branch Road that winds and rolls like the river that flows by its side. I can trace the years from my birth to here, right down the center line. Things have changed throughout the years. Houses built up where there used to be fields. You sure move fast when you've got 4 wheels. If I could turn it around, I'd take it slow. Like the South Branch Road that winds and rolls like the river that flows by its side. I can trace the years from my birth to here, right down the center line. I still see every curve and bend down the old rural route. I remember whence every patch and hole like a long-lost friend. After 50 years, it still feels like home. And the South Branch Road winds and rolls like the river that flows by its side. I can trace the years from my birth to here, right down the center line.
Thank you, Belinda.
Here?
Where am I going? Right here?
You come here.
All right.
Little changeover. No, I'll take that one. It's an alternate tuning thing.
It's nice to have enough guitars. Sounds time?
Yeah.
Thank you. So the next song we're going to do is a song that Nancy and I wrote a few years back, and we started thinking about the Christmas truce of 1914. Are you folks familiar with that? Lots of wonderful songs have been written. Come to find out, I thought I was going to write the wonderful song, and then I started looking into it and thought, okay, it's been done. If you don't know the story, it was World War I, and it was trench warfare in those days. It was the Germans against the British, and on Christmas Eve, the Germans started singing Silent Night, as the story goes. And the English heard, and they started to sing along with them. And many of them spoke German, so they sang in unison. And from that, they decided a truce for the evening would be a good thing to do. So the soldiers came out into the battlefield and traded stories and sang songs and had chocolates and, a wonderfully peaceful evening. Of course, the next day they went back to battle. So we started thinking about it, and it really dawned on us. We started thinking about war, that, everywhere today, somewhere in the world, a mother is worrying about their child, and we're bringing our troops home, right? But don't forget the mothers that still have children at war.
Christmas Eve in northern France, 1914. Margaret and her children gather round the evergreen, singing songs of silent night, but the words would not ring true. For though the guns lay quiet now, the calm would end too soon. How many mothers wait by a window, a candle they'll light, and they'll pray for peace, they'll pray for strength, and they'll pray for silence tonight. 41, the brave and young lined up to enlist. At the station, Mary fought the tears and gave her son a farewell kiss. Don't worry, Mom, I'll be fine, I'll be home by Christmas Day. But Mary knew it might not be true as the train pulled him away. And how many mothers wait by a window, a candle they'll light, and they'll pray for peace, they'll pray for strength, and they'll pray for silence tonight. Generations of soldiers decorate the walls beside generations of mothers who kept watch while they were gone. And though the tiny flame may waver, it never will go out till they come home. So bring them home. How many mothers wait by a window, a candle they'll light, and they'll pray for peace, they'll pray for strength, and they'll pray for silence tonight, and they'll pray for peace. They'll pray for strength, and they'll pray for silence tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl, for inviting us to be here today. Thank you all for coming and for welcoming us to the crew here. Very much appreciate being able to share our music, our songs with you. Another song from home for me is called When the Last Whistle Blows. And my town in Cornwall was huge in the paper industry for many of its early years. In fact, the mill just closed down about 4 years ago now. And I think the same thing is happening here in the U.S., that we have wonderful natural resources, but we choose not to afford to refine them anymore. And so our town has had to redefine itself. And I wrote this song in that spirit. When the last whistle blows, we'll go out on the town for a job well done, even though they shut us down. Any hope that pulp and fiber would line our dreams with gold is going right up the old smokestack when the last whistle blows. The news is rather grim. We hate to see it come, 'cause we've been reeling paper since 1881, or 100 years of toil to this agonizing end. And it's hard to point a finger for the mess that we're in. So when the last whistle blows, we'll go out on the town for a job well done, even though they shut us down. Any hope and pulp and fiber would line our dreams with gold is going straight up the old smokestack when the last whistle blows. The last shift is over now, the final shipment gone. No more boiling wood chip from dusk until dawn. And there's a sad and eerie silence as the last machine shuts down. 'Cause we know it won't be easy, it's all different now. So when the last whistle blows, we'll go out on the town for a job well done, even though they shut us down. Any hope and pulp and fiber would line our dreams with gold is going straight up the old smokestack when the last whistle blows. This is the only place I've ever called home. This town's rebounded from hard times before. I still believe there'll be something here for me. It won't take long. No, it won't take long. And when the last whistle blows, we'll go out on the town for a job well done, even though they shut us smokestack when the last whistle blows.
Good job, Liz. Thank you, folks.
Golden leaves released by the stately maple beyond the shed fall like confetti in a noisy flurry, spinning and dancing to their finality. Wrens and squirrels sit up in the tree's sturdy branches, cracking open the seeds and nuts of falling autumn. Together, feather and tail and leaf make such a racket, cause such a chattering, that it is impossible not to notice, not to seek them out, to marvel, and to scold. And this I wrote for my husband, sitting over there, not singing today, called Orange November. In the first murky light of day, trees bared, their cover blown across the fields of every yard, air tinged with the hint of future snows, we breathed the sweetness of summer past and autumn passing. As fruits fall from their vines, we settle down among the browning grass, among the ever pines. Thankful now for harvest bounty, glad beyond reckoning for heat and happy children, dogs under the table, friends at the door, we pause to consider these few peaceful days before the death of the year. And in those pensive moments before the great red and green cacophony, we bow to the grace of Orange November. Thank you.